Well, welcome everybody to our webinar on resilience during the holidays. Let me introduce our speaker for today. We have Dr. Kim Sundling. She's a board-certified psychiatric pharmacist with both direct and indirect clinical care experience. She is the Behavioral Health Clinical Pharmacist at Florida Blue for both commercial and Medicare members, and her particular areas of interest include substance abuse treatment and geropsychiatry. Kim, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you now.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Today we are going to talk about how to handle the holidays in a positive manner. We're in year 2 of the pandemic, and the holidays often bring additional stress for us. I know they do for me. Today we will review skills and strategies to cope with the new normal that lead to a healthier holiday season. So the objectives today are to hopefully go over the following things. Today we will spend some time talking about holiday stress and how to build resilience. So 1, reflect on your holiday stress. Everyone is different, so take a moment to think about what stresses you out over the holiday season. For me, it's finding the perfect gift for everyone and also making sure that I don't forget a loved one or friend during the holiday season. We'll talk extensively about this, but change your thought pattern. What do you tell yourself about the holidays? What are your expectations for you and for others? Are there shoulds and have-tos around traditions and upcoming events? Can you shift the way you are thinking to can and want to? What do you tell yourself about food, exercise, and taking time to relax? What about decorating, gift buying, and meal planning? You need to examine your values and traditions and think about what matters most. Be kind to yourself. Where can you take a break and eliminate a task, activity, or ask for help or delegate? Is it time to create a new family tradition that doesn't cost money? For instance, maybe volunteering at your local soup kitchen for a few hours. Can your family change how you approach gift giving? Pay attention to your self-talk and reframe it to be more positive. And like I said, we will be covering this in more detail later on. And lastly, practice strategies to build resilience. Think about the message you get whenever you fly. If we lose cabin pressure during the flight, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before assisting your children or others. In order to really enjoy and appreciate the meaning of the holiday season, you need to take care of yourself physically and mentally. Eat nourishing food, exercise, and get enough sleep. Laugh, be with friends and family, maybe even have a spiritual practice. You don't want to let yourself get run down because then you will get sick and really miss the holiday season. Think about simple, small ways to take care of yourself each day to minimize the effects of holiday stress and uplift your body and mind. Today we will discuss some tips and strategies so you can practice self-care over the holidays. All of us have some level of stress in our lives. Some of it's good, some may be bad. Plus, on top of that, we are dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Each year, the American Psychological Association, the APA, surveys people across the United States about stress, its sources, its intensity, and how people are responding to stressors, both mentally and physically. The 2020 results were a little different. And on this next slide, I have just some of the highlights. The 2020 survey revealed that Americans have been profoundly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, and the external factors Americans have listed in previous years as significant sources of stress remain present and problematic. These compounding stressors are having real consequences on our bodies and minds. Unhealthy weight gain, sleep disruptions, delayed health care, and increased drinking were reported by Americans coping with the pandemic stress. The survey also reveals a secondary crisis in parents, essential workers, and communities of color are more likely to report mental and physical health consequences. These reported health impacts signal many adults may be having difficulties managing stressors, including grief and trauma, and are likely to lead to significant long-term individual and societal consequences, including chronic illness and additional strain on the nation's healthcare system. When considering the physical and emotional toll of increased stress, nearly half of adults report their behavior has been negatively affected. Most commonly, they report an increased tension in their bodies, snapping or getting angry very quickly, maybe unexpected mood swings, or screaming or yelling at a loved one. The COVID-19 pandemic has had substantial impact on the lives of all Americans, and it will continue to do so. It has disrupted work, education, healthcare, the economy, and relationships, with some groups more negatively impacted than others. So besides dealing with year 2 of the pandemic, now it's getting to that time of year, the holidays. When the holidays come around, our stress levels are exacerbated. If you are already stressed about money, the pressure of gift giving, and the additional credit card debt that happens over the holidays, in addition to time pressures, can really increase your stress level. We have more to do, such as shopping, entertaining, events happening, and it goes on and on. There's an abundance of goodies to tempt us, and alcohol at parties and family events. We can have high expectations for the holidays when it comes to family, and we can often be disappointed. In addition to this, we all have coping mechanisms for stress, and it often leads to unhealthy behaviors. Maybe it's eating too much food, eating unhealthy food, smoking, or consuming too much alcohol. We can feel anxious and tense and upset, and that can cause changes in our body. Our blood pressure will rise, we can get tension headaches, or even an upset stomach. These are just a few examples, but there are more that maybe you have experienced. So how do we deal with the holidays in a healthy way? How do we cope in a healthy way? So here are just some suggestions for healthier coping behaviors when you get stressed during the holidays. Be good to yourself, first of all. If you enjoy solitude, make sure you're getting that time in the solitude. Practice self-care. Learn something new. Maybe learn how to knit or, a new hobby. Do things that really enhance your self-esteem. For me, this is making sure that I still get out and go on a run. And I am in Minnesota, and this means that I still run year-round. But I know that it is very important for my mental health. In addition to that, understand that you are not alone if you aren't able to get with family. For me, living in Minnesota, we often have blizzards that interrupt our travel plans. So just something that really helps me is knowing that there's other people that are going through this as well, and that really helps comfort me. So when this happens, try to get connected. When you're reaching out to others, the loneliness is a bit less, whether it's saying hello to neighbors, exchanging friendly words. So something that I do is I always wave at people if I see anyone out, because you don't know how that could really impact their day, especially if they live alone and they're not getting to see their family. And next, really try to cultivate gratitude. And this is seeing what you have and being thankful for this. One thing that my husband and I do every night before we go to bed is we ask each other what we're grateful for. And we have a rule that we cannot say each other. It has to be something small. So for me, today, it's my warm cup of coffee, because it's very cold here in Minnesota today and we have snow flurries. And it can be even simpler, maybe just seeing the sunset or, a warm sweater, something like that. There's a lot of evidence to support practicing gratitude and the impacts on your mental health, all of it positive. Maybe give to others. It doesn't have to be money, because I know money can be tight for many people. You can give your time or talent, such as going and reading to, an elderly person, or maybe it's volunteering at the soup kitchen, like I mentioned earlier. And lastly, examine your feelings. Have self-awareness of what you are feeling. If you need to talk to someone, see a therapist or contact your EAP. Check in with yourself and your family to make sure your expectations are realistic. Try to rethink your expectations. The reason that we feel disappointed because of our expectations of what the holidays should look like does not happen. Change your thinking. Come up with new thoughts of what your holiday looks like. Give yourself permission to come up with new traditions. So here are some examples. So if you recently went through a divorce, try to come up with new family traditions because it is going to be a lot different this year. And also, again, make sure you're giving yourself permission to come up with those new holiday traditions. Maybe you experienced the loss of a family member. What is something that you could do to really honor their memory? Maybe it's making their favorite dish, playing their favorite card game, or even lighting a candle just to really honor their memory. If you can't be with family, come up with a way to connect with them. Whether it's through FaceTime, Zoom, or Microsoft Teams, really try to get with your family virtually. This is something that I did last year. We did a Zoom family meal where we all ate together and kind of explained what we were eating, and it was just really fun to be together virtually and just kind of have the same thing that we normally would if we were together. Another idea is to create a memory box. And a memory box is full of tokens of what would be at the holiday event, and the group can open them together. So for me, for instance, it would be homemade caramels, which are delicious, and a deck of cards, because that's something that we always do over the holidays. This can be either dropped off at the loved one's individual house, maybe you could mail it, or even if you're kind of tight on money, you could just send pictures on your cell phone. And this is just a way to really connect with people and still enjoy some of those traditions that you normally would. And lastly, if you are unable to physically do what has been done in the past, come up with new traditions. And this doesn't even have to be physically. Maybe mentally you're just not in a good place this year. Do something that you can. It doesn't have to be complicated, and other people should respect if you can't do what you normally would. It's easy to have too much on your plate and compromise sleep and self-care to get everything done. But if we can learn anything from this picture, although I am jealous of Santa on the beach, especially when it's 9 degrees today, is that Santa can relax, and this is the busiest time of year for him. So self-care is very important. And next, I kind of want to shift gears and focus on resilience. We've said that word quite a bit today, but what does it really mean? Resilience is not just about grit. A lot of times when people think of resilience, they think it's that grit or mindfulness. Yes, it is that, but it's so much more. It's about managing stress and even about thriving and feeling great. Often resilience is defined as the ability to bounce back from adversity. However, we know that that is actually what resilient people do. So kind of to define it a little bit better, there's 7 different competencies that make up resilience. There's emotional control, which is the ability to control feelings when under the gun to remain focused. Impulse control, control our behavior under pressure. Problem solving, which is to work out problems, see different angles, use your resources. Self-efficacy, having a sense of mastery in the world. Realistic optimism, which is that glass half full mentality. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And lastly, reaching out, and that is the willingness to take on challenges. So how do we build and strengthen resilient skills? One way to build resilient skills is to change your thought pattern. It is not simple. It takes time, and I hope you guys really understand that this is not something that happens just overnight. So from looking at this graphic, you can kind of see that your thoughts and beliefs create your feelings, which create your actions that create your results. If you have negative feelings about the holidays this year, then the best way to change that is to really focus on your thoughts, since your thoughts dictate how you feel and what you do. Many times we focus on what we can do differently, but we overlook the importance of attending our thinking patterns. This is a concept you can apply at any time during your life. But here we'll go through an example of how our thoughts can work for or against us during the holidays. So let's look at a negative example thought pattern first. So the thought, oh, the holidays are coming and I'm just not ready for them. I have way too much to do. No time to get it all done. I am just not in the Christmas spirit at all. So this thought, you can kind of guess, leads to feelings of defeated and being resentful. The actions because of these feelings are that you stop your self-care routine, you might skimp on your sleep to try to get everything done, and you don't try to do anything different than in the years past. The results of this are decreased physical health and potentially getting sick, feeling badly about yourself, and lastly, stressed, angry, and unappreciated. So I personally would not want to feel that way over the holiday season. So let's look at a more positive example. Thought. I have learned from the uncontrolled frenzy from years past, just because I've skimped on self-care during past holiday seasons doesn't mean I have to do it again this year. I'm in charge of how I take care of myself, especially during the holidays. I will streamline, delegate, ask for help so that I can enjoy this special time of year with my family and friends. I will focus on plans now and maybe take a new approach. So this leads to more feelings of hope and feeling in charge. The actions because of this that you take are that you find creative ways to take care of yourself and you focus on enjoying this time with your family. Others are in charge of parts of the celebration. So the results of this are that you maintain physical health, you feel better about yourself, and you enjoy the special celebrations of people and moments during the holidays. So in addition to the resilience, you want to make sure that you pay close attention to self-talk. Examine your feelings. Have self-awareness of what you are feeling. If you need to talk to someone, again, please see a therapist or contact your EAP. When you notice yourself saying or thinking, same old, recognize those thoughts have led to unhealthy holiday behaviors in the past. The first step is to think differently. In that moment, make a choice to replace negative or self-defeating thoughts with a more positive and self-affirming one. Changing how we think about things is a process, and it starts with reframing our negative thoughts. So if you want different results for the holidays, you need to start with different thoughts. Some suggestions to help you reframe is number one, the first step is to notice. Be conscious of the thoughts that come into your mind and how they make you feel. Secondly, pause and shift how you are thinking about that thought. And lastly, rewire. Take 15 or 30 seconds to really savor your positive thought and let it sink into your neurons. At first, this process of thought substitution may seem contrived or inauthentic, but if you keep practicing, it won't be long before you notice a change in your feelings, actions, and results. So now I want to shift gears again, and I want to talk about how you can do self-care during the holiday season. Number one, manage your time. At holiday time, we have more going on and are often crunched for time. So here are some suggestions and tips to help you during the holidays. One, try to set priorities and let go of impossible goals. Take a serious look at your calendar and be realistic about how much you can accomplish. And also build in some time for unexpected interruptions, such as burning their turkey, which I unfortunately did last year. We ended up having to order pizza, and hopefully you don't have that extreme of an example, but just make sure you're really prepared for those unexpected interruptions. Second, stop to enjoy the fruits of your labor. If you just spent a weekend getting your home decorated for the holidays, and hopefully with some help from your family members, if you're listening to this presentation, put on some holiday music and enjoy how beautiful everything looks. If you don't, you might feel drained and unappreciated. And lastly, pay attention to how your body is feeling and what it's telling you, and rest when you need to. If you are tired and tense, it will affect your mood and your ability to get things done. Try to keep to a regular sleeping pattern. This is the time when many of us cheat sleep, trying to get everything done, and we can get run down and sick and miss out on the holiday celebrations. So the next thing is to really set intentions for the holidays. There is a power in setting a positive intention for the holiday season. It can help guide you through this time with peace and joy. Set an intention for your holiday and enjoy time with the people you love. Say your intention out loud. Maybe it's go with the flow or be positive or kindness first. Once you've chosen it, say it out loud and see how it feels. Say it out loud a lot first thing in the morning and when you go to bed at night to help you stay focused on your positive approach, even when minor irritations pop up. Are there people in your life who model the values you strive for? Tell them about your intentions and see if they will be a positive partner with you this holiday season. Some people, places, and activities are just not going to jive with your intentions this holiday season. Make a list of things you think you should minimize contact with to maximize the number of hours you spend aligned with your intention. For example, if holiday shopping in crowded stores leaves you feeling stressed, this is me, do not do most of your holiday shopping online. Delight in all your senses and enjoy the company, the atmosphere, the entertainment, the food, and the traditions you have for the holidays. So going back to resilience, how can you really increase your resilience? The good news is resilience involves behaviors, thoughts, and actions that anyone can learn and develop. Like building a muscle, increasing resilience takes time and intentionality. Focusing on core components can empower you to withstand and learn from difficult experiences. So one is to build your connections. Prioritize relationships. Connecting with empathetic and understanding people can remind you that you're not alone. Focus on finding trustworthy and compassionate individuals who validate your feelings. Whether you go on a weekly date night with your spouse or plan a lunch out with a friend, really try to prioritize connecting with people who care about you. Maybe join a group. Along with one-on-one relationships, some people find that being in an active civic group, faith-based community, or other local organizations provides social support and can help you reclaim hope. Research groups in your areas that could offer you support and a sense of purpose or joy when you need it. I am a part of a local running group and also a local book club, and it's something that really helps me get out of the house and also just not spend time with my husband all the time. But I feel so much more connected to people, and it does give me hope because it's like having another friend or family member to get you through this time. So that's building connections. Next, you want to foster wellness. So first, you want to take care of your body. Self-care is a legitimate practice for mental health and building resilience. That's because stress is just as much physical as it is emotional. Promoting positive lifestyle factors like proper nutrition, ample sleep, hydration, and regular exercise can strengthen your body to adapt to stress and reduce the toll of emotions like anxiety or depression. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is everywhere in the news, and there's a reason for it. Mindful journey, yoga, and other spiritual practices like prayer or meditation can also help people build connections and restore hope, which can prime them to deal with situations that require resilience. When you journal, meditate, or pray, think about the positive aspects of your life and recall the things you're grateful for, even during personal trials. And just a reminder, this does not have to be complicated. You can start out meditating for a minute or journaling for a minute and working your way up from there. It doesn't even have to be meditation. It could be going on a walk and looking for everything that's pink. It can be very simple. Don't make it complicated, and you'll still get the benefits of it. And lastly, try to avoid negative outlets. It may be tempting to mask your pain with alcohol, drugs, or other substances, but it's like putting a bandage on a broken bone. Focus instead on giving your body resources to manage stress rather than seeking to eliminate the feelings of stress altogether. And here are just the rest of the core components to increase resilience and cultivate joy. Find purpose. Help others. Whether you volunteer at a local homeless shelter or simply support a friend in their own time of need, you can garner a sense of purpose, foster self-worth, connect with others, and tangibly help others, all of which can empower you to grow resilience. Try to be proactive. It's helpful to acknowledge your emotions during hard times, but it's also important to help you foster self-discovery by asking yourself, what can I do about a problem in my life? If the problems seem too big to tackle, break them down into manageable pieces. Something that my dad has said to me that has really resonated with me for all my life is to Always focus on one brick at a time and don't focus on the whole house. If you focus on one brick at a time, you will get there with less stress as opposed to focusing on the whole house and getting overwhelmed by everything you need to do. So that's just something that has really stuck with me, and I really live by that. So move towards your goals. Develop some realistic goals and do something regularly, even if it's a small accomplishment that enables you to move toward the things you want to accomplish. Ask yourself, what's one thing I know I can accomplish today that helps move me in the direction I want to go? For example, if you're struggling with the loss of a loved one and you want to move forward, you could consider joining a grief support group in your area. Next, look for opportunities for self-discovery. People often find they have grown in some respect as a result of a struggle. For example, after a tragedy or hardship, people have reported better relationships and a greater sense of strength, even while feeling vulnerable. They can increase their sense of self-worth and heighten their appreciation for life. I know in my life I have gone through quite a bit, and I would not be where I am today if I hadn't gone through those hardships. During the hardship, it is not easy to look at, the opportunity for self-discovery, but I encourage you, even if it's one small thing or one positive thing that you can spin, it will really help you in the long run and also get you to a more positive outlook more quickly. So that was about finding purpose. And next, really embrace healthy thoughts. Keep things in perspective. How you think can play a significant part in how you feel and how resilient you are when faced with obstacles. Try to identify areas of your rational thinking and adopt a more balanced and realistic thinking pattern. For instance, if you feel overwhelmed by a challenge, remind yourself that what happened to you isn't an indicator of how your future will go and that you're not helpless. You may not be able to change a highly stressful event, but you can change how you interpret and respond to it. Accept change. Accept that change is a part of your life. Certain things may no longer be attainable as a result of adverse situations in your life. Accepting circumstances that cannot be changed can help you focus on circumstances that can change. Try to maintain a hopeful outlook. It's hard to be positive when life isn't going your way. An optimistic outlook empowers you to expect that good things will happen to you. Try visualizing what you want rather than worrying about what you fear. Along the way, note any subtle ways in which you start to feel better as a result as you deal with difficult situations. Learn from your past. By looking back at who or what was helpful in previous times of distress, you may discover how you can respond effectively to new difficult situations. Remind yourself of where you've been able to find strength and ask yourself what you've learned from those experiences. Getting help when you need it is crucial for building resilience. Which of the suggestions to build resilience will help you this year? Try a few of them and see if it helps you stay positive over the holidays. And remember to be patient, take things week by week or day by day, even hour to hour or minute to minute. And lastly, I just want to leave you with this quote that I really like. One small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. Thank you so much. This now ends the formal presentation, and I'll turn it back over to Patty.
Thank you so much, Kim, for that. And we do have some questions that came in. So this first one, awesome. Okay, so the first one, this person actually lost their husband a few months ago. And at some of the holiday things, she's going to bump into some people that she hasn't seen for a while. So her question is, how do you suggest dealing with other people when they want to talk about the person that has passed away and you are just trying to enjoy a festivity or event?
That's a really challenging and difficult situation, and I'm really sorry for your loss. I can only imagine how difficult this time of year is for you. And what I would do is, I feel like a lot of people, this is like the new thing that we always tell people, but honestly, boundaries are going to be the most important thing that you can do. And just being honest with that person, how you're feeling, you can't really be responsible for their feelings. You're only responsible for yours. So really setting up those boundaries is going to be what you can do. And honestly, I think if you explain why you don't want to talk about it, people should honor that.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. What are some tips dealing with family members who don't care to be part of your activity? It almost feels as if we all want to take some responsibility on what part we played, and they're not wanting to be there. They don't even want to show up.
Yeah, that's a really frustrating, a frustrating situation, especially if you put a ton of work into it. But honestly, you can only do your part. You can't make other people do what you want. So as hard as that is to swallow, again, I already said this, but you can only be responsible for your feelings and not theirs. So try not to let them, be the Debbie Downer. Just try to stay positive and really focus on, all the hard work that you did and try to enjoy it even if they aren't.
Okay. We had a really nice suggestion that just came in that said just some food for thought for taking the frenzy out of gift buying for adults rather than children. I asked my friends not to buy me gifts, but to donate the funds to an organization of their choice.
That's a really good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Okay. Next question. Our society seems to be focused on alcohol for every celebration. Why is that?
That's a really good question. I often wonder that myself. I personally do not take part in drinking. And, that often comes up for me as well, especially when I say that I don't drink. And a lot of people push me, why don't you drink? And I think a lot of it has to do with our society. I mean, if you look at any of the commercials, especially like over the Super Bowl, it makes it seem like you cannot have fun without alcohol. So I think that's where it's coming from, which is really frustrating because there's, kids and teenagers that watch those things, and you just automatically kind of associate alcohol with fun. And I wish society would change that, but that's a really good observation that you've made.
Okay. And what about children who have lost someone like their father? How can we stay positive for them?
That's a also very challenging situation because sometimes kids don't exactly understand what's going on, depending on how old they are. What I would recommend for anyone that experienced loss, especially with kids, is to ask them how they would like to honor their father. Maybe he really liked to play football. Maybe you can play football on, the holiday, depending on where you live, of course. But it is very hard for kids, and it is also hard for the parent who lost their spouse. So try to be respectful of their feelings and of your own, too, as you're probably grieving yourself.
Yeah. I know we lost my dad a few days before Thanksgiving several years ago, and that first Thanksgiving was awful. One of my cousins had us all over, but it's just very difficult. But now what we do is we have this big candle that the hospice nurse had given us, and we just put it in the middle of the table for all of our holidays, and we light it, because my father loved a good meal, would never want to miss a good meal. So and sometimes we tell a few stories about him. So, that's kind of the way we try to honor, sort of having him with us in spirit. So,
that's a really good recommendation. So thank you for that.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are basically at the end of our questions, and so I want to thank everyone for joining us and tell everyone to have a wonderful holiday season.